10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0 pucks given.
And he manages to get it wide to Jacob Minter. Yeah, good job with the shot, and the Slough Jets have taken the lead on the power play with 23 Russell with the shot cross goal. No need for the save from Lorde, and Campbell finds himself in, and it is 3-1 to the Chelsea Chieftains. They have him.
0 pucks given.
Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. Remember, we are not just a podcast, we're a one-stop media shop for the NRHL 1 South and beyond, doing live game updates, live stream commentary, the very exciting Hockey Night Live, and eventually, hopefully, live streaming ourselves. Firstly, I'd like to tell you about our partners, starting with Hockey Art Co., who create hockey-inspired clothing that is so creative and artistic and excellent quality too. With all sorts of clothing items for on and off ice, including some awesome band-themed jerseys, as well as training gear and casual wear, listeners to the ZPG network get a 10% discount on everything from hockeyartclothing.co.uk when you use the code ZP10. We're also in partnership with Manscaped, the globally recognised male grooming brand that have top-of-the-range products such as the lawnmower, the weed whacker, the beard hugger, and the dome shaver pro. These products are really, really good. I use them myself, apart from the beard hugger, as you can see. They're waterproof, so you can use them in the shower. They have ceramic blades, so no cuts or no nicks. And the lawnmower has a light, which is very handy for those hard-to-see places. Plus, super fast charging and a long runtime make these the best wireless shavers on the market. You can get 20% off of everything at manscaped.com when you use the code 0pucks20. And finally, we are part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, the biggest podcast network in Europe, boasting over 500 podcasts from more than 20 different sports. And we're thrilled that the ZPG network, including Zero Pucks Given and ZPG Ice Maidens, is a part of it. Well, hello, welcome along. This is episode 141. I'm Ben, and this is Zero Pucks Given. Happy New Year and welcome back to the podcast in what I am sure is to be a very exciting year for us here at ZPG. Obviously, we're back with the NRHL 1 South roundups. We've got a couple of interview episodes lined up for January. In January, of course, on the 13th, the voting closes for the Sports Podcast Awards. Zero Pucks Given was nominated and made the final 12 for the best hockey podcast, field or ice. So you've got till January the 13th to get your vote in. There's a link in the description of this episode, and it will be in the link of the posts on the social media as well as normally on one of my stories on Instagram and TikTok or Facebook. You'll probably be able to find it there. If you can't find it in the stories, it's in the link tree. If you hit the link tree on the social medias, it will be the very top one. Vote for us and see that we can win that Best Hockey Podcast Award. That would be absolutely mind-blowing. Of course, as well, in January, we've got the launch of Hockey Night Live coming up on the 25th. Saturday the 25th, 6 p.m, we'll be launching Hockey Night Live. Some news from the Britton Division then. Slough Jets have added to their roster with the addition of Juha Lindgren after a period away from the game, and he goes straight into their roster for their home game with Chelmsford this weekend. Also, staying with the Jets, Jacob Minter will reach his 100th Jets game this weekend, so a massive congratulations to Mintz for reaching that milestone at such a young age. That's absolutely incredible. And the Coronado MK Thunder, they confirmed in the break that head coach Will Fry has signed up for another 3 seasons to bring the very best in youth hockey through the ranks at the Thunderdome. Huge congratulations to Will. We all know he's a great contributor to the podcast. His thoughts are always very honest, and as always, we thank him for that and the time that he gives, and congratulate him and the Thunder on their ever-increasing relationship. The Christmas break, then, it has given teams a chance to rest up, get players back, get those rosters locked in for the second half of the season, as the corner has been turned and we are now in the final stretch where teams will be looking at playoff positions, and of course, the Britain Cup is up for grabs. The semi-finals for that have been confirmed. They've been confirmed for the January 18th and 19th weekend, where the Chelmsford Chieftains will first host the Streatham Redhawks at the Riverside before heading to the High Road on the Sunday. The Solent Devils will host the Slough Jets before it's all back to the hangout on Sunday. So from those 4, we could get a replay of last year's final, which is Streatham against Slough. We could also get a replay of last year's playoff final, which was Chelmsford against Solent. or we could get replays of last year's playoff semi-finals, which would have been Chelmsford against Slough and Solent against Streatham. So there's so much on the line for that. And I think the Britton Cup is going to be a really entertaining end to it there. Well, let's get underway with this weekend's games as we get back into the action in 2025. And where we can, we like to start with the early face-off at Planet Ice in Gosport. The Solent Devils showing off their stacked roster on a massive sellout night at the Gosport Arena, where the first goal of 2025 actually went to the visitors as Alistair Barrow went unassisted to make it 1-0 MK on 3:13. The Devils reset themselves and pulled the game level when Pitts and Coleman assisted captain Callum Perella-Fox to make it 1-1 on 7:18. The home side completed the turnaround when Murray assisted Jack Hops to make it 2-1 Solent on 12:36. Into the second, and the home side started to turn the screw and take control of the game, with a goal for returning forward Jack Peacock as he made it 3-1 Solent on 23:40, assisted by Mark Pitts. The Devils moved further ahead when Harrison Sutton assisted Travis Penny to make it 4-1 Solent on 24:36. And less than 30 seconds later, it was 5 when Jack Peacock went unassisted to make it 5-1 Solent on 27:03. Thunder changed goalies as Caleb Sheehan took the place of Cameron Frayne. However, his first job was to pick the puck out of the net as Russell and Hops assisted Mark Pitts to make it 6-1 Solent on 28:34. And before the halfway mark of the game, the Devils went further ahead with their 7th unanswered goal when Harkup and Penny assisted Ryan Sutton to make it 7-1 Solent on 29:56. The game was paused briefly due to an issue with the MK bench, but when it got back underway, the Devils yet again ensured their visitors were thunderstruck when Pitts assisted Kane Russell to make it 8-1 Solent on 33:18. On 36:53, there were penalties on both sides before the Devils scored again as Clountman and Penny assisted Jack Peacock for his hat-trick, making it 9-1 Solent on 37:58. From the restart, Solent pushed again and hit double figures when Clountman and Harris assisted Connor Hutchison to make it 10-1 Solent on 38:37. Into the third, and another pair of penalties expired where the Devils went further ahead when Harrison Coleman assisted Kane Russell for his second of the night, making it 11-1 Solent on 46:05. A minute later, the Devils called their timeout and pulled Rory Martin-Edwards, giving a first South 1 outing to Cooper Ivey in the pipes. Congratulations to Coop. The home side continued their impressive barrage on the Thunder when Pitts and Russell assisted player coach Alex Murray to make it 12-1 Solent on 48:54. Less than 30 seconds later, unlucky for some, but lucky for Jack Peacock as he netted his 4th goal of the night, making it 13-1 on 49:20. Into the final 10 minutes, and the Thunder killed off a too-many-men bench penalty, but with both teams at full strength, Leo Harris went unassisted to finish the scoring, making it 14-1 Solent on a 56:48, completing a very dominant victory for Alex Murray's side. They will head to Gillingham to take on the Dynamos on Sunday. For the Thunder, they will host the Cardiff Fire at the Thunderdome for the late Sunday night face-off. The Fire returned to New Year action with the M4 derby and the visit of the Wildcats, and the visitors took an early lead when Kirk Brown and Sagan assisted Ollie Stone on just 1:15 to make it 1-0 Swindon. The Wildcats doubled their lead in the first period with a goal from Jay Warren on 8:24, Nethercell on the assist. Into the second, and the Wildcats dampened the Fire and killed the game off with an impressive 5-goal haul in the space of 9 minutes. Firstly, though, the Fire killed off a double penalty after Stevens sat for cross-checking on 22:03 and then Racine sat for holding on 22:34. But 5-on-3 killed, Swindon took advantage of the tired legs as Nethercell and Warren assisted Charlie Turner to make it 3-0 Swindon on 26:11. Then, after Davis took a seat for slashing, Turner and Nethercell assisted Jay Warren with his 14th goal of the season, making it 4-0 Swindon on 28:56, power play goal. Turner then assisted Oscar Sagan to make it 5-0 Swindon on 30:36. And then after Stevens sat for tripping, Oscar Sagan doubled his tally, assisted by Turner and Nethercell to make it 6-0 on 33:12, power play goal. Warren assisted Charlie Turner to close out the second with 5 unanswered goals, giving the Wildcats a 7-0 lead on 35:08. The third saw multiple penalties, including the removal of George Howe for fighting for Swindon, but the only addition to the score was a Hayden Lee goal on 53:21, assisted by Sagan, making it a resounding 8-0 shutout win in Cardiff for the Wildcats. Whilst the Fire head up the M1 to face the Thunder on Sunday, the Wildcats will head home to face Lewis Clifford's Chieftains. The Chieftains started 2025 with a trip to the hangar as third took on first, with the table-topping Jets boosted by the addition of Juha Lindgren, starting well on home ice but going on the penalty kill early when Bradban sat for kneeing on 6:07. After the penalty was killed, the visitors forced some pressure and took the lead with an unassisted goal from Ukrainian wonderkid Sasha Maltsev, making it 1-0 Chelmsford on 9:32. On 11:21, Lack took a seat for slashing, but with that penalty killed off, the Jets made it a tied game when Affleck and Goodchild assisted Juha Lindgren to score on his return, making it 1-1 on 16:22. Right at the end of the first, Alex Cole took a 2-minute holding penalty, giving the visitors a minute and 10 of power play time at the start of the second. The home side killed off the remainder of the Cole penalty before finding themselves with a man disadvantage again when Kyle Bradbourne returned to the box for slashing on 23:43. The Jets killed off the penalty, but 10 seconds after returning to full strength, the visitors retook the lead when the Bartlett Bros assisted Mikey Power to make it 2-1 Chelmsford on 25:53. After the goal, Power took a 2-minute penalty for slashing, which the visitors killed off, before moving 2 goals ahead when Baldock and the returning Power assisted Halden Barnes-Garner to make it 3-1 Chelmsford on 31:36. The home side pulled it back to a 1-goal game when Miles assisted Juha Lundgren for his second of the game, making it 3-2 on 34 flat. And a few minutes later, the Jets made it a tied game when Miles and Lindgren assisted Jack Goodchild to make it 3-3 on 38:19. There was more drama, though, before the end of the second when Baldock and Barnes-Garner assisted Mikey Power for his second of the game, giving the Chieftains a 4-3 lead on 39:30. Christian Moore took a high sticks penalty right on the buzzer, giving the Chieftains a power play to start the third. Into the third, and more penalty killed off, English and Lack threw some fisticuffs that saw them both sit for 5 minutes. On 54:50, Lewis English sat for delay of game, but as Chelmsford looked to put the game to bed, Jacob Minter celebrated his 100th Jets appearance as he assisted Juha Lindgren for his hat-trick, making it 4-4 on 56:25, short-handed goal. Into overtime we went, and both teams played with chances, being patient, looking for those 2-on-1s, but with 24 seconds left until the shootout, Minter and Goodchild assisted Ollie Hemmings-Mayer to make it 5-4 Slough and give them the extra point on 64:36. A heart-wrenching result for Chelmsford before the tricky trip to Swindon. For Slough, just a one-game weekend as they do stay top, although Streatham will join them on 57 points with a home victory against the City Stars on Sunday. So we'll start on the high road in Streatham as Painters boys return to action with the visitor, the City Stars, who travelled with a full 20, whilst the hosts were missing Ethan and Jared Lane, among others. But the hosts took the lead early when Thomas Skokan made it 1-0 Streatham on 2:03. The Redhawks doubled their lead when Damon Porter got his first Streatham point, assisting George Norcliffe to make it 2-0 on 10:19. And they finished out the first with a third goal scored by Harvey Stead on 16:38. Harrison and Aiken took penalties for slashing for both sides before Oxford's Sam Robinson took a seat for illegal equipment, followed by Streatham's Ben Painter for cross-checking in the final minutes of the first. Into the second, and the home side came out all business and put their opponents to the sword when Toombs and Norcliffe assisted Thomas Skokan to make it 4-0 Streatham on 23:06. The dynamic duo, Beasley and Watt, assisted JJ Pitchley to make it 5-0 Streatham on 23:38, followed by Aiken and Skokan assisting Roman Cathcart to make it 6-0 Streatham on 26:09. The Redhawks doubling their first period lead in just 6 minutes. The home side added a couple more after Porter and Ingoldsby assisted Sam Waller to make it 7-0, followed in the final seconds by Beasley and Cathcart assisting captain Ryan Watt to make it 8-0 Streatham on 39:53. Into the third, and Ryan Watt got back on the score sheet quickly when Beasley and Pitchley assisted Watty as he made it 9-0 Streatham on 40:29. Sam Waller got his second goal when Watt and Pitchley laid on the assist for the double-figure goal, making it 10-0 Redhawks on 44:23, and then followed by Ingoldsby assisting Damon Porter for his first Streatham goal, making it 11-0 on 45:41. Oxford got on the power play late when Ingoldsby sat for interference on 52:08, but they could not take advantage of the extra man and actually saw Streatham break and finish the game off when Watt assisted Ziggy Beasley to finish it off at 52:33 with a short-handed goal for 12-0. A one-sided affair that saw the Redhawks throw down their marker for the championship run, showing they're not to be trifled with, as the Stars know they have to gain some form for the upcoming games against the teams around them. After the game, City Stars head coach Mark Saunders gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Yeah, one game weekend as we get into January 2025. For the Oxford City Stars, we made the trip up to the High Road in Streatham, hoping to have a few more bodies back in the lineup, be a little bit further to full strength, which we were. We had a good complement of players with us last night. We had 20 guys on the bench, so ready to go, and some guys coming back in after shortened stretches of injuries and some with prolonged stretches of injuries. So I was pleased that we had guys back. I was hoping to put up a little bit of a contest last night, and we did for probably the first kind of 15 minutes. And then, as we know, against good teams, they'll find ways to beat you and change what they do, and we tried to adapt and change to them, and we just didn't really kind of match that as I would have liked. But again, that's part of our learning journey here, and we grouped that kind of game yesterday in with a really hard December that we had, and now we look downhill towards the end of the season, and we've got a real tough run of games coming up, and we need to be focusing on our performance, keeping our guys in the lineup, keeping our guys happy, healthy, and making sure that we're fit every week and that we're aiming for a performance that's going to allow us to start picking up points here as we look to some games that really we need to be competing in and we have to be competing in, as we look what undoubtedly is going to be a pretty quick run downhill to the end of the season. So yeah, happy New Year to everybody out there, to all the fans around the league, all the Oxford City Stars fans as well, especially the guys that came last night to the game in Streatham. We have the Bucks next weekend on Sunday at home, our first home game of 2025. So we look forward to seeing all the Oxford City Stars fans there. And yeah, just to round off, hope everybody had a happy, healthy Christmas, and wishing everybody out there a prosperous new year. And we look forward to seeing you at the rinks as we get started for the rest of 2025.
And following that impressive return victory, Redhawks player coach Ben Painter gave his thoughts.
Yeah, first game back after New Year, single fixture against Oxford at home. It's always unsure how these games are going to pan out a little bit with obviously 2 weeks off the ice over Christmas and that sort of thing. So we had one practice on Thursday, which got our feet back under us, and yeah, I think we started the game well. Oxford were bolstered by a much larger lineup than we've seen so far this year, so that was it was good to see. A lot of young guys, but they worked hard and tried and skated all night, and yeah, I think we had an okay first period. Like I say, just sort of trying to find our feet again, and really wanted to make sure we were sticking to good habits and back, sort of getting back to doing the good things we were doing before Christmas. So we had an okay first period. We went through some things after the first period. Oxford sort of played man on man quite tight in the D zone, so we had to make sure we were moving our feet and finding pockets, and we did exactly that. And I think we were rewarded with some nice goals in that period. We broke the puck out well when we needed to, and we were passing the puck round well. So overall, I was pleased with performance and pleased with how we came straight back after Christmas. And yeah, we just we look on to another home fixture on Saturday night against Invicta, which is always an entertaining fixture, and we look forward to that one, and we know what they bring. So we're preparing this week in practice for that, and hopefully we just get another result. So yeah, keep moving on.
Sunday also saw the Solent Devils bid for a second successive 6-point weekend after having a 3-week festive break, as they headed to Invicta Dynamos, who welcomed back a virtually full roster after the break, but struggled to find rhythm early on in a scrappy opening 10 minutes. The Devils had a power play chance when the Dynamos had a 2-minute tripping penalty for Winterbank, but 2 seconds after returning to full strength, they found themselves behind when Peacock and Lackey assisted Ryan Sutton to make it 1-0 Solent on 13:09. The game continued to be scrappy, but the Devils were showing a more clinical edge and doubled their lead when Pitts assisted Liam Coleman to make it 2-0 Solent on 17:13. Into the final minute of the first, and Sutton took a hooking penalty for Solent, giving the Dynamos a chance to pressure. Into the second, and the Devils killed off the remainder of the Sutton penalty before moving 3 goals ahead when Russell and Banner assisted Liam Coleman for his second of the night, making it 3-0 Solent on 24:53. On the halfway mark, Thune sat for slashing, but the Mo's penalty kill did the job. Into the third, and after killing off a Harris roughing penalty early on, the Mo's pulled one back when O'Neill and Springer Hughes assisted Dan Scott to make it 3-1 on 45:56. Solent thought they'd push back into a 3-goal lead, but the officials washed the goal out. before Penny takes a seat for Solent for hooking. But as soon as Solent returned to full strength, the Moes pulled another goal back when O'Neill and Pywell assisted James Laming to make it 3-2 and give the Dynamos a sniff at forcing overtime. Timeouts taken and Windybank pulled, but it wasn't quite enough and the score remained 3-2. After both teams have had extended breaks, the Dynamos couldn't seem to get their tempo going, although head coach Cole Lennon was not disappointed with the effort.
First and foremost, Happy New Year to all of the listeners and, of course, to you, Ben, and the team at Zero Pucks Given. Sorry I didn't get to speak to you guys before Christmas, but I had a family day out and didn't get in time to meet your deadline. But, yeah, I guess the game yesterday for us was a frustrating one. I think two words spring to mind was if only. We started the game pretty competitive. I think both teams for the first 10 minutes kind of had equal amounts of opportunities, chances, and it was really only when we conceded a penalty, which I think was questionable, about the 10-minute mark, where we came under some pressure, and during that 2-minute penalty, I think we killed 1 minute 55 seconds of it. And played it really well, exactly the way I'd wanted us to play it. We turned off a little bit for those last 5 seconds and left a man open in front, and they punished us. And it was a killer because, like I said, we'd done so well up until that point on that kill. And then they scored off a face-off, which, again, was something we'd pointed out to the boys before the game, which was quite frustrating. And I think that kind of left us at the end of the first period, knowing that we had a bit of a mountain to climb there. And it wasn't for us not having chances. We had plenty of chances. We just took really poor decisions on our shot choices, and we took, made silly plays on zone entries, things like that. Second period was flat. We didn't really show enough character to fight back, and again they picked up another goal, and that was us then with a mountain to climb. I must admit I lost my cool during the second period break, and I just wanted the boys to show character. We talked about it a lot during the build up to the game, and I don't think we showed enough character yesterday. And, thankfully we did that in the third period and pulled a couple goals back and had it, quite tense there at the end where we pulled the netminder and put them under pressure. But, like I said, it was if only we'd started better in the first two periods, then we'd have been in a much better situation moving into the third. And that's the same thing could be said, but in a different way for the previous time we played Solent at home. It was, if only we could have held on to the result when we had it in our hands. So for me, frustrating night, because I know we're more capable than that, and we showed that just before Christmas with the performances against Slough, and we need to do better. We've got two very tough games this weekend, away in Streatham and at home to Chelmsford, and we'll need to be far more in tune leading into those ones. So we'll have a good week of practice, and we'll be ready for those two next week.
And after gaining a 6-point weekend and virtually cementing their top 4 place, Devils player coach Alex Murray gave his thoughts to ZPG.
First week back from the Christmas festive period break, and kicking off with a double-header with Milton Keynes and Invicta was always going to be a tough one. We had an optional practice on the second, which most guys attended, which I was really pleased with. But it kind of meant that we were going into Milton Keynes with a little bit rusty without, being on the ice, some guys for 2 weeks, missing a lot of guys. I think we had 12 guys out overall, including the two-ways that were off at Guildford, and a couple of injury suspensions and some availability issues that we've got at the moment for teams. So we put together a strong team. We had one of the under-19 goalies, Jess Cooper, as well as our backup. And on the Saturday we were kind of heading into that game looking at a potential banana skin. And I think first period in particular, Milton Keynes kind of matched our intensity early doors, and we were a little bit sloppy, and said to the guys that realistically we can't keep relying on the same people to pull us out of these games or to get us up for these games. You have to come ready to play, regardless of opposition. And credit to Milton Keynes in the first period, they more than held their own. I think after the hairdryer treatment, the boys managed to put in the performance that is expected, and in the end that became an easy 14-1 win, I think, and scoring throughout the lineup, and we were able to run the lines. It's just a shame that we had a clash with Div 2 playing Guildford, meaning we didn't have any of the kids, so we weren't really able to give those guys the experiences which the games against the teams in the bottom of the table do give you that opportunity. As I mentioned earlier, we did have Cooper from the under-19s back us up, as Duffy and Aaron were unavailable, and we were able to give him sort of 12-15 minutes at the end of the game. He did incredibly well. I think he had 4 or 5 shots and killed off a penalty as well in goal with some good saves, and that's, real key to what we try and achieve at Solent with the development and the pathway. Cooper's only been playing the sport for 4 or 5 years and has been loyal to our club and has remained a constant throughout, always attending training and always wanting to improve, and he's been skating with Div 2 recently, so when the opportunity arose, it was a great chance to get another junior bled through the team. So yeah, that was Saturday, professional performance, scoring throughout the lineup, and really it was about the focus on the Sunday, because we've struggled with the 2 game weekends performing on a Sunday after a Saturday game. So we had a few guys back in the lineup, Lackey returning plus a couple of the 2-ways and Aaron back in net, and I think the start of the game we were probably the better team in the first and rightly went ahead, although they had some great chance in the first. A one-on-one that I remember was, what tremendously saved by Aaron, but I think we outshot them in the first, and I was pretty pleased that we were in the lead. A lovely goal on the power play from Sutz, from a great pass from Lackey, and then some individual brilliance from Liam, which we know we can produce off a set face-off. Going into the second, I think they really bounced back and they pushed really hard. I think predominantly dominated most of that period. Although we had our chances, they were sporadic, and Aaron played really well in goal. But we were able to extend our lead to 3, and in the second period break, I told them that they would be pushing. They'd be coming, and we had to set our traps and try and see that game out. And we thought we'd gone into a 4-1 lead, and some bizarre reason our 4th goal was wiped off, even though their goalie knocked the goal off as we're scoring and the puck goes in the net. But as he dislodged it, they felt that wasn't a goal, which meant it remained 3-1 and momentum was with them, and they were able to get their second with about 5 minutes to go. And there's a good crowd at Invicta. They're loud, they're on you, they don't stop heckling you. And when they got that second, the crowd really got into the game. But again, we're getting better at experience, seeing those games through, and yeah, really pleased that we were able to kill that game off at the end and take a 3-2 win and have a 6-point weekend. And next week we now go to Chelmsford in a really crucial game to keep up with the top 3, and we're going to be, single head fixture next week, so raring to go, and hopefully, putting a performance up in Chelmsford.
Sunday also saw the Chieftains make the tricky visit to Swindon, where the Wildcats have forced some decent results on Sunday night travellers, but after giving the Chieftains an early power play, the Wildcats were forced to defend early. After failing to capitalise on the man advantage, Cameron Bartlett gave the Chieftains a 1-0 lead on 4:46, assisted by Lack and Grant Bartlett. 2 penalties killed by the visitors through second until the final couple of minutes, where Power and Maltsev assisted Haldon Barnes-Garner to make it 2-0 Chelmsford on 18:09. Into the second, and Cam Bartlett scored again to make it 3-0 Chelmsford on 28:10, Alan Lack on the assist. And from the restart, Maltsev assisted Mikey Power to make it 4-0 Chelmsford on 29:54. Swindon called their timeout and gathered themselves and got a run of good shifts going after Jan Kostel Jr. netted his first goal for the Wildcats, making it 4-1 on 35:10, assisted by Sagan and Nethersell. And that was quickly followed by a Ben Nethersell goal from the restart, which pulled it back to 4-2 on 35:53. Jan Kostel Jr. and Kirk Brown on the assists. Then, after Rayner was boxed for tripping on 37:31, Stone and Kostel Jr. assisted Luca Kirk Brown to make it 4-3 on 39:12 power play goal, leaving an uncomfortable end to the period for Chelmsford. Into the third, and the visitors pushed further ahead when Fay assisted Alan Lack to score, making it 5-3 Chelmsford on 42-58. Only for Swindon to attack again and score again when Burnett and Bradley assisted Luca Kirk-Brown for his second to make it 5-4 on 49-04. As we headed into the final minutes, Maltsev laid on the assist as Mikey Power netted his second to give the Chieftains a cushion at 6-4 on 56-38. And then after some work was needed to Ben Clark-Leach's skates, the goalie was ultimately pulled after a long delay as the Wildcats searched for a way back into the game. But after Matt Lauday, formerly of Swindon, now of Chelmsford, received 2 for tripping on 57-46, a short-handed empty netter from Alan Lack, assisted by Grant Bartlett on 59-07, saw the Chelmsford Chieftains run out 7-4 victors. For the Wildcats, a 3-point weekend after their shutout victory in Cardiff, and reflecting on the up and down weekend, Wildcats head coach Ken Forshee.
Yeah, so I thought overall good weekend. We got the 3 points we needed to, and I thought we played well enough to get some bonus points tonight. Slow start tonight, but we didn't give up. We got down 4-0 there in the second. We were running around a little bit too much. We just calmed things down, and then we got skating, caused some turnovers, and got a couple there and made it close. So, if you would have told us in August that we're playing teams like Chelmsford close in January, we would have taken that. So we're going in the right direction. And last night I thought we were good. I don't think Cardiff played their best game, but you can only play the team in front of you. We kept our discipline. We scored 8 goals, which was nice. So a lot of good things on the opening weekend. Obviously, we're just getting our legs after the Christmas break, and hopefully we're going in the right direction, trending in the right direction, and hopefully we'll have a big second half.
And after his side come out with 4 points after that tight Saturday night defeat, Chieftains coach Lewis Clifford gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Yeah, a mixed weekend for us this weekend. Saturday, obviously we played in Slough, and it was a good game of hockey, I think. Obviously I don't watch it as a fan as such, but a lot of people came up to me after the game and said how good of a game of hockey it was and how much they enjoyed it. It was one of those games where, two good teams going head to head really, and just going back and forth, and it could have gone either way. We were leading with 3 and a bit minutes to go, I think, and actually on the power play they score a short-handed goal, and then they take it in overtime after numerous chances at both ends. I wasn't overjoyed at the way we managed a couple of situations late in that game. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There was a couple of things that we did, both in the dying moments of regulation and the overtime, that I wasn't happy about. But the effort for the majority of the 60 whatever minutes was outstanding, and from both teams. I think that's a coin flip. We could have won it in regulation. They could have probably won it in regulation. Either team could have won it in overtime. And if no one won it in overtime, obviously either team could have won it in the shootout. And that's sort of my honest assessment of it. We know where we went wrong, where we need to be better next time. We have a game like that's tight, and we will. That's what we're here for. But yeah, ultimately a point. Is it a point? Is it 2 points dropped? Is it a point dropped? Yes it is. But coming out of there with a point is way better than the alternative of giving them 3 and ending up with none. So we then have to go into Swindon, and we know they're tricky to play at home. They gave us a real scare earlier in the year, and we started really well. First period, just calm and just going through our gears and getting to where we needed to be, and then sort of started the second period really well. And we had just like this little moment, probably like a series of about 4 shifts in a row, sort of towards the later middle of the second, where we let them score a few goals and just made the game look way closer than it ever was or ever should have been. We know that Swindon don't go away, and if you give them a sniff, they're going to probably pounce on it, and that's exactly what they did. And we came back out in the third and we sealed the game and finished off, and it was what it was. It was get in there, get 3 points, get out, and so far be it from me to be overly critical, and we did get what we set out to achieve. yeah, it was a funny old weekend. Obviously, 2 games on the road, quite a lot of miles. We've lost a couple more bodies. We're really struggling there at the moment. I was trying to figure out with a couple of guys yesterday whether or not we've actually played with a full roster this year, and I think it won maybe 2 games. Maybe, I'm not even sure. I'd have to go back and check the team sheets and stuff like that. So we are struggling a bit, but so is everybody. It's not an excuse. I don't feel the hockey gods have really smiled on our physio bed yet this year, but that's the way a season goes. We know the twists and turns it takes, and we have what we have, and we'll have to carry on managing our way through games. Big weekend this weekend. We've only played Solent once away, and we actually lost early in the year, and we played them at home on Saturday. We need to be turning that result around from the last time we met them, and then we go down to Invicta on Sunday, which, as we know, and I've probably alluded to many times, it's never an easy place to go. So we're looking forward to that. So back to work this week in practice, and we'll get ready for the weekend. Thanks to everyone that followed us. I know a few Chieftains fans did the double header and stayed overnight somewhere along the M4 there. So fair play to them, and thank you very much for your support. We'll see you all this coming weekend at home.
The final game of the weekend was the late, but not as late as usual, face-off between MK Thunder and Cardiff Fire. The two sides seem to have a rivalry not defined by geography, but there's definitely a hostility between the two that was evident here again. However, goals was the early order before penalties, as the visitors took an early lead when Racine and Shepherd assisted Ewan Davis to make it 1-0 Cardiff on 2:44. The home side pulled level when last season's top point scorer Mark Austin went unassisted to make it 1-1 on 9:48. The Thunder then took the lead when Hickman assisted Sam Purcell to make it 2-1 Thunder on 14:13. The Fire were given a face-off violation on 16:24, giving the home side a power play chance, but the Fire killed the penalty off. Into the second, and the home side extended their lead when Reynolds and Vigor assisted Xander Robinson to make it 3-1 Thunder on 24:48. On 26:10, Coney was given 2 for interference as the Fire got on the power play, and when the Thunder were just 16 seconds away from killing, Hagger was called for hooking, giving the Fire a very brief 5-on-3, which they took advantage of just 2 seconds before the Coney penalty expired. Moody and Davis assisted Lewis Stevens to make it 3-2 on 28:08, power play goal. Whilst that goal saw Coney return, Hagger was still in the box, and the Welsh side struck again, this time when James and Stephen assisted Carter Lloyd to make it a tied game at 3-3 on 28:48, power play goal. Both sides suffered multiple penalties throughout the second, mainly roughing and interference, but whilst even-handed, Cardiff completed the turnaround when Stevens and Shepherd assisted Carter Lloyd for his second of the night to make it 4-3 Cardiff on 36 flat. On 37:45, Coney sat for interference for the Thunder, and the Fire's power play unit went to work again as Stevens assisted Aaron Moody to make it 5-3 Cardiff on 38:48, power play goal. Into the third, and a hooking penalty for Moody saw the Thunder go on the power play, but just before the Fire killed the penalty off, the game erupted. Coney, Reynolds and Barrow all received fighting penalties for Thunder, along with Stevens and Llewellyn for the Fire, seeing Alistair Barrow and Joe Llewellyn ejected from the game. A few minutes later, Jared Vigor was also ejected for fighting for MK. I'm sure Dops is going to have a field day with that one. After some more penalties for abuse and roughing, the Fire were back on the power play in the final 10 minutes and looked like they'd killed the game off when Hind Pitcher assisted Ellis Shepherd to make it 6-3 Cardiff on 54:48, power play goal. That was shortly followed by the game-winning goal, even-handed, as Davis and Lloyd assisted William Thilbert to make it 7-3 Cardiff. The game sheet actually listed that goal as 96 Gemma Davis, the Cardiff goalie. Good job I checked that, or that could have been getting us all excited about a goalie goal that didn't happen. Obviously, the scoreline aside, a chaotic game, as I said, a fun one for Dops. Considering the high standard of video available from MK's home games, though, I'd like to think it will be sorted correctly. Well, after a heavy home defeat on Saturday, the Sunday win was just the tonic that Ellis Shepherd needed.
We started the 2025 year with a very contrasting weekend. We went into Saturday, still a few bodies down due to injury, illness and suspension. A game that I thought we've had very close games with Swindon previously, and I thought it would be the same. Unfortunately, it's probably our worst 60 minutes of the season so far, and will be our worst 60 minutes this season. There was, we had the conversation after the game, and during the game as well. And anecdotally, the best cause of rectifying it was the MK game the next day. Yeah, against Swindon, there was just we didn't, the desire wasn't there, the forecheck wasn't there, defensive blunders, just overall just a really poor game. I think the Christmas break evidently didn't help, and yeah, disappointing to lose in that fashion in front of our fans as well. Real frustrating. However, we go to MK on the Sunday, and I thought we were excellent. Arguably one of our best games. Lost. We went out with 13 guys. Lost one of our guys very early on due to a high hit. Concussion protocol. We had to remove him from the game. But I thought we were excellent to outshoot them 60 shots to 17. With some real good team dynamic play. We were hungry. Great ozone pressure, great defensive awareness as well to reduce them to 17 shots. I thought we had to make a makeshift third line of 2 D-men and a forwards, and they were outstanding. They set the tempo. Couldn't imagine that they were actually D-men, how well they played. And yeah, a real big character performance from the boys who travelled as well. So I was really proud of that Sunday performance as well.
And after the game, Thunder coach Will Fry wasn't afraid to share his frustrations.
Yeah, 2-game weekend for us this weekend. Unfortunately, with scheduling things, we weren't able to get any training sessions in after our last game at Romford before Christmas. So there's a little bit of rust to shake off, and obviously going down to Solent on Saturday, it's just always a tricky place to go. We had a good game against them down there at the start of the season, and just wanted to kind of take the same attitude in and see what we could come away with a very young team on the ice on Saturday night, and started well, really, took the lead. Thought we took the game to them really well. We're relentless in how we were pursuing the puck and not giving them any time to play and shutting down the areas that we wanted to, which was great. And obviously they got a couple towards the end of the period. We know they're strong shooting from the blue line, especially at home. So it's always a risk. And I think we just gave up a couple and didn't quite get out to the point man quick enough, and they got through. But all in all, a good period, and felt like we were in a game and was a positive period for us so quickly after the Christmas period. It was just, I don't know what happened really. It was a capitulation is probably the best way to describe it. And going out in the second, and I don't know how many goals we conceded in the end. Was it 7 or 8 goals in a period, and just not good enough really. And I think it was a failure to recognise how Solent had adapted and changed, and allowing them to just continue to do the same things that were working for them, and making no effort to read and react to what was going on in front of us. And it cost us big time and embarrassed us really. Fair play to Solent. They always give a professional performance, and they always treat us well whenever we go down there, and we get on well with them. So there's no hard feelings on it, just a lot of disappointment on our side of how we performed after putting ourselves in such a strong position. But to try to take the positives from that first period into Sunday, with a few bodies coming back in that weren't available for the Saturday fixture, and against a Cardiff team that we outplayed away from home before Christmas, and we're looking to get one back in the series for the season. Again, started really well. First period, I was 50-50. I think we had some good spells, and I think there was a bit of adaptation to take from playing on the small ice on Saturday to getting home on the big ice, in terms of the spacing and gap and things. And yeah, I thought we got through the first period. We were fairly gritty, not the cleanest, but we got through it, and we're in a good spot, taking the lead out of the first, and then we get another goal early in the second, and things were looking good. And then unfortunately we fell the wrong side of the referee's arm again, and it just went downhill from there. I think 5 power play goals on the night for Cardiff, and it's cost us the game. I think it's the 4th game this season that we've lost on power play goals, and and yeah, wasn't happy at all with the performance from us and the response. But equally, there's got to be some responsibility taken from other areas in the game. And for me personally, I don't think enough's done to build on the development of young players and the protection that they get. And not saying that they should be treated differently, but there certainly seems to be times this season where teams are willing to go and target young players that are putting themselves out there and playing hard and playing gritty and all. It gets to a point where, do you really feel like it's acceptable if they're then not willing to stand up for themselves when more senior players come in to protect their teammates? And ultimately last night, that's how Cardiff wanted to play, and that was their game plan for periods, and it is what it is. We've got to try and overcome it, but it gets difficult, when you've got a young team and you're trying to work with the raw talent that we've got and the young players that we've got, and they are good enough to play, and they're learning, and they make mistakes like everyone else, but it's difficult to keep them motivated to want to go out there and play games and stay involved in the sport at this level and pursue their talent, really, because ultimately they don't feel like they get the protection that they deserve. And I think you watch certain things happen, and it's not a dig at Cardiff at all. It's part of the game, and if you can get away with things and earn your team's penalties, it gives you an advantage. But I don't know what people in the building were watching last night, but there were certainly areas and elements of the game that I just question what's been seen and the decisions that have been made. But like I've said all year, the referees and the officials have a tough job to do, and they can't see everything. And ultimately, they're not to blame for the fact that we lost the game last night. We can't allow 5 power play goals to go in, and our penalty kill was weak, and just generally not a good performance from us at all. So I think there's certainly now a point we've hit a point in the season where I think that the adaptation's got to come, where we're looking ahead and building for the future properly now. And I think the time's come to give a lot of these real young kids more of an opportunity to develop and grow, and see if we can push them on a little bit towards the end of the year, and just kind of build for the future, really. We were clinging on sort of a little bit for that last playoff spot, but I think that dream's probably gone now. So it's disappointing. And no one likes losing, and I hate losing more than anyone. I'm a competitive guy, but we've just got to try and look at the bigger picture here, where we've got a lot of raw talent, a lot of inexperienced talent, and it's just got to be refined and polished a little bit. And there is plenty of opportunities there for us to get a lot out of these players. We've just got to keep them motivated and keep them engaged, and just keep doing the best we can, really. We've made a commitment for a long period of time, and we're going to continue to build on that. So it's a frustrating one for sure, but yeah, we'll look ahead. We've got Swindon away next weekend, and I think it's another opportunity for us to go with a young team and try and get some positives out of there and give them a really good game, and just keep looking towards the end of the season and moving forward, really.
Well, that is it. The first weekend of 2025 is in the books. Some incredible games, some incredible results. So let's have a look at this.
Hi, it's Justin Wong, Kenny Wu from the Muddy Ducks, presenting Zero Pucks giving Britton Division Player of the Week.
Player of the Week then. Well, using his experience to guide his team to a fine shutout victory on Saturday and keeping them well in touch with one of the top sides during their defeat on Sunday, this week's ZPG Britton Division Player of the Week is Swindon Wildcats' Ben Nethersell. So let's have a look at the league table then. There has been a couple of changes and things have moved around. The Streatham Redhawks are now on top. They have played 21, won 19, lost 2. They have 57 points. Currently, their max is 102. So they are 3 points ahead in that race with a game in hand. In second, the Slough Jets, they've played 22, won 18, 1 overtime win, 1 overtime loss, and 2 defeats. 57 points also, but their max is only now 99. Chelmsford Chieftains, they're in third, played 22, won 17, an overtime win, an overtime loss, and 3 defeats. 54 points. So 3 points back, played a game more than the top side. Their max is now 96. And in fourth, the Solent Devils, now 20 points clear of Invicta Dynamos. They've played 24, won 17, an overtime win and 6 defeats sees them have 53 points, a max of 89, and that top 4 has now qualified for the playoffs. In fifth, then, the Invicta Dynamos, they've played 23, won 10, 1 overtime win, 1 overtime loss, and 11 defeats, 33 points. In sixth, the Romford Buccaneers, not back this week, they're back next weekend. They've played 22, won 9, 2 overtime wins, 1 overtime defeats, and 10 losses, 32 points. Up to seventh, the Swindon Wildcats, they played 23, won 8, 1 overtime defeat, and 14 standard defeats, 25 points. Their max is now 67. And up into eighth, they've overtaken them. They've still got 5 games in hand, but played 20, won 4, 1 overtime defeats, and 15 defeats in regulation. Cardiff Fire have 13 points, but with 5 games in hand on the Oxford City Stars, you'd have to say that 8th place is pretty much theirs. In ninth, then, it is the Oxford City Stars. Played 25, won 4, lost 21, 12 points. And bottom of the table, MK Thunder. Played 24, won 1, lost 23, just the 3 points. They have now gone over the 200 goal mark conceded as well. So, yeah, just looking at that table then, as I said, that sort of middle bit, that 4th and 5th for the playoff qualifications. Invicta Dynamos are going to have a real struggle. I don't think they can actually get as many points as the Devils can. They're going to have to drop some serious points, the Devils. In fact, they're going to have to drop sort of 17 points, best part of 6 games, and Dynamos are going to have to win as well. So I would say, as I said during the roundup, I think that top 4 is pretty much locked in. It's just about what order they're going to be in. So now we know that the cup semi-finals have been confirmed. We know that it's going to be Streatham against Chelmsford over 2 legs and Slough against Solent over 2 legs. Let's have a look at the fixtures for next week. Saturday the 11th sees the return of the Romford Buccaneers for 2025, and they are hosting the Cardiff Fire, 5:15 p.m. at the Sapphire. 5:45 p.m. at the Riverside, the Solent Devils make the trip to Chelmsford to take on the Chieftains. What a massive game that is, 3rd against 4th in the league. So tight in the points as well. Also, Saturday the 11th, 5:30 at the High Road, Streatham Redhawks welcome the Invicta Dynamos. That is sure to be an entertaining game as well. And 6:30 at the Hangar, the Swindon Wildcats go and take a swipe at the Slough Jets. On to Sunday the 12th then. The first game of that day is Invicta Dynamos versus Chelmsford Chieftains, a 5:45 face-off at Planet Ice in Gillingham. Followed by the Oxford City Stars welcoming the Romford Buccaneers for a 6:15 face-off at the Oxpens. 6:30 up at the Link Centre, Swindon Wildcats against the MK Thunder. And 6:45, the Vindico Arena in Cardiff. Cardiff Fire against the Slough Jets. Massive game on that Sunday there. Slough obviously having to keep the pace up now that they've dropped down to 2nd. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be back. I have missed doing this over the last few weeks. Next week, we don't have an interview coming later this week, but we do the following week. So after next week's fixtures, we'll have the roundup episode, and then I will be joined by Solent Devils captain Callum Perella-Fox. He couldn't be on this week because he's in Amsterdam. Next week, I'm actually in Fuerteventura, but we will still be doing it. It's all Zoom. Time difference is the same there. So we'll be getting that interview locked in, and Callum will be on. The following week, I'll be having GB Golgley, Ella Howard on there. So I'll make sure that I get a post out to get your questions for both of those in January. And then I've got to lock in Aaron Connolly and Invicta Dynamos, as well as a couple of others as well. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for the coaches for sending in their coaches' thoughts. I really do appreciate your time. Ben Painters actually came from Barcelona this week as well. So yeah, they do put it out there to make sure that they get their thoughts in, because it's so vital to the podcast. As I always say, it's exclusive to us. Massive thanks to Jono, who gets Ken's thoughts from Swindon as well. And it really does add that little extra thing to the podcast. As I say, when I share the video clips, we are the only UK ice hockey podcast that has coaches' thoughts from across the division that we cover. So it's absolutely brilliant that we do get those from the guys. Massive thanks to anyone who has voted so far in the Sports Podcast Awards. Remember, the link is in the description of this episode, or you can find it on the link tree on any of the social media pages. You have until January the 13th to vote, so please go ahead and do that if you can. It is a bit of a faff, I'm not going to lie. One on multiple email addresses, you can do it from there. There's a few boxes to tick, but if you can do it, I would be absolutely thrilled if you can do it. Also, the ZPG merch store is there. I received a little picture over Christmas of someone wearing a hoodie. You know who you are. So if you want any Zero Pucks Given merch, head to the merch store that's in the link tree and you can find it all there. Of course, don't forget to check out our partners, Hockey Art Co., Manscaped, Sports Social Podcast Network, where you will also find ZPG Ice Maidens. There is a new episode coming very, very soon, getting you up to date on everything that's been going on in the WNIHL with ZPG Ice Maidens, the only podcast dedicated to UK women's ice hockey. Well, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.